All right, so you're stuck with me again. And we're officially 1 minute ahead of schedule. So I'm going to eat that minute up with a couple things that I neglected to say. Throughout today, specifically the afternoon session when the manufacturers rep firms are in the room as well, we're going to be sharing a lot of numbers, right? EBITDA, where we ended 17, projections for where we ended 17, what we're looking at doing in 18, market sizes. A lot of the information is for us, right, and our family and our group. We don't want that information to necessarily go out to the marketplace. It's extremely important that we share so you guys have an idea of scope and scale and where we fit, right, within our competition and within the marketplaces. But certainly we don't want to talk about, a lot of the numbers that are confidential and specifically, ours for our group and our family to share amongst each other, but not out in the marketplace. With that, you have me, right? Salesforce. I want to go through Salesforce training. We're going to talk about how Salesforce integrates with our organization. But through these question and answer surveys that we've had, and we've got a focus team from our sales organization that's made up of folks from the business development team, from market managers, as well as regional sales directors. We've got some product managers and some new product development folks on this team. And just in rattling off those different groups, there's a lot of different levels of our organization. And throughout those different levels of our organization, it's very important that we have a tool to allow us to be effective in the marketplace. When we started out, 3 years ago, and we were going through this transition and this build with us plan, it was pretty easy. We had a regional sales director and a market manager, and they covered a territory about half the continent, and they knew where each other were. And we didn't step on each other's toes, and we weren't going in and making calls on the same contractors or same engineers or going to the same projects or job sites. And as we've continued to develop, right, and build these teams and build these groups, we're touching each one of these different organizations at different levels. So it's more important now than ever for us to make sure that we work together as a team and understand that the work and effort that is going through each one of our different business segments is most utilized. The business development team that's starting at the engineer level, then teeing up specifications. Certainly that's all tied to a specific project or a specific region or market. We want to make sure that as the market managers go in and are talking to the mechanical contractors and they're talking to the wholesale distributors that are wrapped around those same projects within these markets, know what work and what effort the business development team has done so they can utilize that, right? Somebody asked me, about 2 months ago, and they said, well, Tyson, I get CRM, I get Salesforce, I get the size of our organization and the scale of our organization and the importance for us to communicate. But how does it all fit together, right? How does it fit together so it makes my job or my life easier, like you're telling me that it will? How does it fit together so our organization is going to be more effective in closing business and conquering the future that we want to conquer? And I guess I take responsibility for not clearly conveying that message to everybody, because CRM, and it stands for Customer Relationship Management. We recently did an internal survey, which went out to everybody in this room, that asked if we think a customer-centric view is important, meaning, is the customer's experience with our organization important? Is the information that they're engaging with us need to be consistent? So every time they get that same experience and that same information and that same message. And everybody unanimously, out of all of the respondents, 100% said yes, absolutely. The customer service experience and customer experience right now is more important than ever. Without a tool like Salesforce to allow us to have our business development team tee up opportunities and change where our products are specified, and then allow our market managers and our regional sales directors to be able to track what products are being specified in what regions and what markets, and then tie in additional tools, third-party aggregator tools like we'll hear about from Construct Connect tomorrow in each one of the breakout sessions, so we can see size and scale and scope of each one of those projects and markets. How then we go in and call on those wholesale distributors who we sell our actual product to and engage with them on cases, i.e. any issue that has come in through customer service, any orders that have been delayed, or any shipments that they've had challenges with, any claims that are open or closed. By logging all of the information into our centralized customer relationship management database, we now have that centric view of our customer. So perfect state, right? It's all good. We now have a kind of a big picture of what's happening, but perfect state. I'm a salesperson, day in the life, I'm walking in, I got to make a call on this wholesale distributor. I literally go to an iPad, maybe? Glenn, iPads? Okay, we'll work on that. But I go to some kind of a device, right? Whether it's an iPad, my laptop, or whatever. And I can do some pre-call planning. I can say, oh, geez, they've had three shipments that we short shipped over the last 6 months. There's 25 projects in this market that Zeke and the business development team have teed up. They sent some product back that we charged a restocking fee. They had a claim on a project that was in their market that was a big claim, and we settled it. So all that information is at your fingertips, so when you walk in, you can utilize it to your advantage. We right now are going through this growth, this change, this transition. And for those of you that don't know, our customer service team has been going now through the same growth and transition. We have had access to Service Cloud, which is a tool that bolts on to Salesforce, but we have yet to roll it out. And there's a reason, because we can't, as Philip said earlier, how do you eat an elephant? Right? One bite at a time. So we can't roll all of the different tools from Salesforce out on our organization without some structure as to how it all fits together. So it starts with you, right? It starts with the group and the team that's in this room. A, how does it make your life easier? And I'm going to go through how that happens. But B, once you guys adopt it and understand and use it and find that it creates efficiencies and make sure that the tasks that you schedule, that the projects that are in your area, you can see what the BD team is doing, or the BD team can see what the market managers are doing. You can see what products are teed up within that region or that market, right? It gives you the insight to see what's happening. And at that point in time, we can start transitioning, because you guys will all become, and guys and gals, will all become power users. And as a power user, then we can walk the customer through, or the customer service group through, how we can better utilize the tool within customer service, right? So you know what RGAs are coming back. And Greg Canali is going to speak about RGAs and the RGA process. And everybody's been going through, right, different growing pains. But this gives us a singular point of view, right? And moves us from 3 or 4 different operating systems into one singular operating system. So that's kind of the bigger picture of customer service working with sales and sales working with customer service and having that singular customer-centric view. We then plug in, right, shipping, receiving, distribution, and there's new product development, which we'll also talk about Thursday. But as Philip alluded to, and I know everybody's excited to hear, there's a lot that's happening with our new product development team, a lot of innovation, and I'm not talking about just improvements on our product lines, but true market innovation, right? And when we tee up that market innovation and opportunities through these projects, then that's where we can start tracking the success or failure in the overall launch. When we move away from an Apollo Online product, and everything gets funneled through Salesforce, again, we have one singular view of the end user, right? Does that make sense? So the scenic overlook, right? The 360-degree view of customers, that's the utopia. That's where we want to go. Right now, as we launch, we've got to crawl, then we've got to walk, and then we've got to run. We started out really just trying to understand the market and understand the needs of each different level or segment within our organization. Figure out how they fit together, and then build the tool so it can best be utilized for us, right? A lot of people in this room have used Salesforce in the past, or used Sugar, or used ACT, or whatever, or kept a Rolodex. Essentially, Salesforce in its core is nothing more than that, right? A tool for us to be able to manage our time more effectively and efficiently, make sure that we go in and make a call, we log that call, and whatever that next to-do task is, it's already plugged in there. And ultimately, that way, when we go back into that customer, we can have a meaningful dialogue with them. Specifically and especially as we expand and grow and reach our different potential customers and clients, that becomes extremely cumbersome to manage. And I come from the school of the old file folder or egg crate in the back of the car. So, I've gone through the manila folder and, God forbid you slam on your brakes or take a hard right turn and that thing topples over, and now you're trying to figure out your notes for the last, 6 weeks or 6 months worse to try to figure out what next follow-up needs to happen. So I understand it is clunky at first, but the more you use it, the more you'll appreciate it. Holly Hoover, who now runs the Salesforce for us, which quite honestly was lacking for us as an organization. With the amount of users that we have on this platform, we needed somebody that was going to allow us to give us the tools that we need and be accessible on a regular basis to be able to walk us through different trainings. So as we move through, we've got two different opportunities, right? The cloud, or the one on the right? As you sell, it manages connections. It manages your funnel, it manages activity, and ultimately close deals. So as an organization, organizationally, we want nothing more than to literally just manage a funnel. And I don't mean manage a funnel for each individual person, I mean manage a funnel for Press products. Manage a funnel for Groove products. So when we then look at our organization and we say, hey, what do we have coming in the pipeline for the next 12 months for grooved connections, and we're looking at these projections of $1.5 million a month or what have you, then we can say, well, geez, we're going to see a spike over the course of the next 6 months because we've teed up a heck of a lot more opportunities, right? And it gives us a better idea on how to work with operations on what we're going to forecast, which will also be plugged in to Salesforce, so we can better manage what products we need to make, or what products we need to buy, or what products we need to stock in inventory. The left side, the chatter, right? This is literally the platform that you guys can go between as far as groups. So it is the coworker communication, the collaborative chat room, where if I'm going in and making a call and somebody said, yeah, geez, I saw Keith Baca 2 weeks ago and he was in here and we went out to lunch, then I can shoot Keith a chatter that'll also connect on his Outlook and say, hey man, I just popped in here and saw that you were here, heard about it, blah, 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 anything I should know about. So it gives us that collaboration and cross-departmental communication or cross-level communication as we go out and touch these customers, because as we grow, we've all got specialties, right? But we don't want to walk into a customer 3 and 4 times over the course of a 2 or 3 week period of time and not have continuity and consistency in our brand, in our message, and our activities, so we look like we know what we're doing, right? We're all on the same team, right? And that's what the chatter allows us to be. Salesforce or CRM as a whole, typically when it's set up, right, the opportunity, for those of you that have used Salesforce in the past, the opportunity is it's where you track your funnel. It doesn't work for us because our opportunity may be the contractor. It may be a wholesaler. It may be a group of wholesalers or a wholesaler family, right? So we created the project object or the project within Salesforce. And the reason being is because everything revolves around that project. Doesn't matter what it is, right? We've got regular transactional business that we do with our wholesale distribution partners that we've done for years and decades, and that's great. And we're not going to mess with that, and it doesn't really affect us, right? Because they're going to buy that same transactional business from us. But the motivational part for us to be able to grow our business comes in that project work that's in each one of these regions and each one of these markets, right? When they're putting a 42-story high-rise in downtown Chicago, my God, that's a lot of opportunity for us. And there's a lot of people that are digging in on that opportunity, right? So we want our business development team to get in on the early side, right? We want them to be able to go in and make the introductions with the engineering and architect team and the owners, so they can build that relationship, in some cases 2 and 3 years before ground ever gets broken. So as that history, that data profile on that project continues to build, then the market managers and the regional sales directors and the boots on the ground become more and more in tune with how our product's been specified on that, who the contractors are, and then ultimately the wholesalers that are going to pull that product through. There's no other way for us to be able to have this kind of connectivity unless we utilize a platform like CRM that revolves around a project object. So first, I wanted to make sure everybody understands the clear definitions of the project, the contact, the accounts, and the opportunities. So accounts, you'll see, they can be any and all owner, architect, engineering firm, contractor, distributor 1, distributor 2, etc. Why can it be multiple distributors? Because as these projects start off, everybody's going to bid on them, right? And they may pull them through different wholesale distributors. They may pull them through one. There may be the 800-pound gorillas in that market, and they're going to get it no matter what, and that's fine. But this gives us an opportunity to be able to track all of them, see who's there, see who we have relationships with, and ultimately, it's like the after-school special, right? Power is knowledge, right? The more you know. Anybody remember that? I'm dating myself. All right, wake up. We just had lunch, I got you. I'll liven it up. The contacts, right? People who work at the above accounts. So a contact is anybody and everybody that we do business with, that we potentially do business with, that we know. I mean, your aunt's sister's uncle's brother that you met at the class reunion, probably not an important contact to put into Salesforce. But they are the people that you want to put in there that you're going to communicate with, right? Your Outlook calendar contact list. Good contacts, right? Opportunities, right? So this is the dollar value potential for us of any product or any specific distributor of projects, right? So anything that's got a bag of money tied to it. So that project has got a $1.5 million value on it. That $1.5 million then is segmented off into maybe $500,000 in groove couplings or groove fittings, and then $20 million in press fittings, and then another 100 or 120 million in valves or flow control devices. So as we become more and more comfortable with that opportunity, it still all ties back to that project. So now we have a meaningful conversation when we go into the wholesaler and say, hey, we understand that you're carrying this part of our product line, maybe not the whole product line, but if you carried the whole product line, then you've got an opportunity at all $1.5 million or whatever that value is for our products that are on there. If you don't, then you can say, hey, you're going to carry this, or we're going to try to get this together, and then go to wholesaler B and try to get the difference together, right? So now all of a sudden it comes together for us to be able to offer our system and solution instead of pieces and parts at onesie-twosie locations. The attachments are on every single one of these projects. So as the BD team goes in and gets specifications written, they can attach those. As we see who the contractors are that are bidding on the project, then we can attach that information. As we have transactional quotes, we can attach that to the projects as well. So everything can live in one centralized location, and we're not looking back in emails that we had 8 months ago or 9 months ago when we remember stopping by there, and I thought that I sent you that quote, and we're not sure where it is, and I can't remember what number that was or what wholesaler was that thing going to go through. It all lives right here, right? which ultimately is where we want it so everybody can have a meaningful dialogue about it. Ultimately, I think, if we utilize it properly, we're going to cut down on the amount of conference calls that we have about the same information over and over and over. So we can all have a meaningful chatter dialogue and hop on one call and say, hey, here's all the information, here's all the relevant detail, and we're off to the races, right? Look before you leap. We've got somewhere around 20,000 contacts now in Salesforce. 3 years ago, we had 0, right? 3 years ago when we said, hey, we want to launch a CRM within our organization, John's sitting up front here, and I said, hey, John, give me a list of all of our contacts. He said, well, we don't have any, Tyson. And I said, come on, man. I said, give me all of our contacts. Who do we sell our stuff to? He said, yeah, we don't have that. I said, wow, you got to be kidding me, right? So over the course of 3.5 years and the development and growth of this team, we have got 20,000 contacts in Salesforce. So what we don't want to do is end up with crap in, crap out, right? Because that slows the whole process down. So do a simple search, right? Within each one of these different segments, specifically project, contact, opportunity, as well as account. So we're not creating duplication. And what I mean by duplication, right? If my name is Tyson Higginbotham, but if somebody puts in Mr. Tyson Higginbotham, well, that's a different account. It's not going to look up the same exact thing, right? If they put in T. Higginbotham, well, now I've got 3 accounts. So same account in triplicate, right? So we don't want to do that, because the more we start going across those and just entering stuff in without doing a quick search first, then the more redundancy we're going to have. And the more redundancy we have, then the more fragmented the data we have. And the more fragmented the data we have, then the more useless the tool becomes, right? So take the 30 seconds and literally go to the search box in the top left corner. Everybody should be using Classic for now, so we're all on the same page, and literally type it in. Now, if you put a asterisk before or after whatever your search term or search word, then it opens the overall search criteria up, right? So you don't have to have exact word, exact phrase, exact group, just an asterisk before or after, either or both, and it'll open it up to everything that's in there with that similar type of a name, right? So duplication, tough for anybody. It's going to be difficult for us to be able to maneuver through. I think Holly has created multiple different learning paths for everybody as we go through. And the first path was to literally go into each one of your regions and territories and look at the contacts and look at the counts. Go through and check and put in your asterisks with your keyword, and then figure out if there's duplication in there, so we can start a little bit of data hygiene. And when I say we've got 20,000 contacts in Salesforce, that's fantastic, right? But we're right now estimating we've got somewhere between 10 and 12% redundancy. So right now that we've got the team, right, the group, the organization that's now here, we're established, we're stable, and you'll hear that throughout the presentations this afternoon and later in the week, is stabilization, right? So we're not trying to expand and grow different markets and territories and shrink regions and shrink reach and so forth. Now all of a sudden we've got this team. Now we need to stabilize the organization, stabilize the team, have the team go in and stabilize the data, so we're working from a foundation that we can begin to really build and really accelerate on, right? So how do you get credit for Salesforce, and what is Salesforce there for? Well, you go literally into logging a call in each one of those features, whether it's account, whether it's opportunity, whether it's contact, and literally scroll down to the bottom where it says activity history. Log a call, right? All we're asking at stage 1 of rolling out CRM is to just simply log a call and put a task as to what needs to happen with that account. It may be, I don't need to call on this account for 12 months. So put in 12/8 of 19. Follow up with a call that I made a year ago, right? It may be that I need to engage the business development team and I need to tag somebody on the BD team so I can see whether or not we've specified that product in that market or that region. Task, right? That's how we're tracking and logging tasks and calls. I believe everybody has received the new emails that come out weekly for Salesforce. They come from Apollo Flow Controls. They literally are badges and they walk you through every single stage of this process, right? So every one of them also has videos. So if you're confused when you log in, and believe me, I get it, right? So it's easy for me to stand up here and go, oh, well, it's just that easy. You just go to this screen and then you click on this and you go to that screen and before you know it, it's done. Then you go home and you're like, okay, I'm going to get into this CRM. I'm going to get into the Salesforce thing, right? Tyson's convinced me the organization's going this direction, so I better go ahead and log in. And then you log in and go, oh my God, there's more tabs, there's more clicks, there's more buttons, there's more red flags, and what I didn't realize all this stuff was in there because they made it look so easy. Get it. I understand. We listened. We learned. Literally every single one of these are on the video, right? So it walks you through without a voiceover. Right now, we may add voiceovers if you need them. But literally walks through under the title, and you should have all received an email last Friday that walks through each one of these processes on how to log an activity, how to log a call, how to log a project, and so forth. How to create an account, it's essentially the same exact process, right? So we're going to the account object, looking at the distribution or the type of account. If it doesn't exist, then enter it. But again, with everything that you're logging, quickly do an asterisk and a keyword search. So we don't create redundancy over redundancy, right? We don't want to dilute the value of the tool as we're building the value of the tool, right? And if you don't see it in there, then add it as a new account, right? You can also then, you can also add information on other folks' accounts, right? So you can bring up other accounts. If it's in your territory, you guys can share and trade back and forth. If you're the owner of that account or you're not the owner of that account or you took over a territory, then you have the opportunity to be able to take the ownership of that. Over the course of the last 3 years or 3.5 years, for those folks that, have been with us on this journey from day one, we had very limited access to anybody that was able to help guide and help drive on Salesforce. Well, we have a person full-time now. I will tell you that first she's probably going to guide you to the Trailhead, which is the tool for Salesforce to do a quick little research on your own. And then second, she'll be more than happy to help walk you through it. If as we track everything, right, if we see that we've got a consistent question that pops up or a consistent concern that pops up, then we'll have a meeting and we'll address it. Again, this product is an integral part for the future of our organization to maintain consistency and continuity across each one of our departments. So if there's a challenge that we're facing, then we want to address that early rather than late. How to create a contact, essentially the same thing. You go to the contact tab, pop it up, do a quick asterisk search. If it's not there, then literally go in to create a new contact. You can input all of the contacts from your Outlook. My concern with that, and I'll voice that, you can do it how you want, but if you input all of your contacts, then I ask that you go through each one of those contacts and confirm that there's no redundancy with the ones that are already in there, right? We don't want to just create a database of 50,000 people that we have no idea who they are or who they're associated with, or that they're in there 5 different times under 5 different names. And the reason that's important, because when I go through and talk about the marketing stuff on Thursday, we're going to be generating leads as we are right now, but those leads will be qualified opportunities and qualified leads, the Glengarry leads, if you will. Wow, I've really droned everybody out, haven't I? Yes. So, nice, Zeke. But those leads really have gone through a qualification process that you'll find, I think, that's extremely valuable in the sense that we're not just putting junk in there. We're not just throwing names and contacts in there that are just, hey, whatever, right? Go call on these and you know, how many sits are you going to go on before you actually make a sale? They truly are qualified people that have you know, professed that they want somebody to contact them and give you the information that they're interested in based off of their buying behaviors and buying activities, which we'll talk about more on Thursday. Heed duplication warnings. So if there is something in there, you guys hear me going back to this several times over. Duplications will kill us, right? It literally will bog the whole system down and makes your life that you're trying to utilize this new tool, this new platform, it makes your life a lot more cumbersome, right? Because you're trying to sift through what's active. As you guys are all moving into territories that have been touched and used and engaged by different people at different times over the course of the last 3 years since we've rolled out Salesforce, there's a lot of redundancy, right? There's a lot of learning curve. So spend your first period of time, maybe 6-8 weeks, going through what's in there, right? Making sure that what's in there is quality. Then once you know that it's quality, then start adding your contacts, right? As you're using it on your daily basis in your daily sales calls. Work it into your daily activity. And everybody that's come on board through Matthews and our onboarding and training program has heard me say, don't wait until the end of the week. Right? Don't write on the back of the business card in the sales call or the presentation or the call at the wholesale distributor, write on the back of the business card or on a notepad or a portfolio, and then have it all build up. And then on Friday nights, when that's when you do your data dump into Salesforce, all of the detail that's important and relevant to making that customer relationship or customer-centric connection is gone, or it's lost in your mind, right? It's no longer as relevant or as important as it was. That moment you walked out of that call and you're like, oh yeah, they want to see this and I got to get a sample of that and I need to make sure that I reference, that party we were at that buy group. And now all of a sudden when it's in there, when you're sitting in your car or you're sitting in the lobby, now it's in there and you're done, right? You're free. You don't have to worry about it until it pops up on your calendar and says, oh yeah, you got to follow up with that call and don't forget to reference the buy group party that you guys were at or you were at and engaged with them last time. So it truly is a tool to just make your life easier. After locating the contact, obviously you can scroll down, log the activity history as you're putting in that contact. So each one of the activities that you have will essentially build over time to where literally you will have a complete database on these projects and these contacts and the people that were associated with different projects, so your life becomes so much easier into the future. So you can reference all of those relationships and those milestones and those key components that you guys had made it through, right? Or specific sales or whatever's relevant to that communication. It's all there in one location. The opportunities, this is probably the most confusing part for the folks that have worked with CRM in other locations, right? Because opportunities, as I said at the top, is typically where you track your funnel. With us, it's projects. Because everything revolves around the project. It doesn't revolve around the wholesaler, right? Because there's so much going on the periphery from the owner, the contractor, the architect, the designer. I mean, there's 25 people touching it prior to getting to the wholesaler. So we can't funnel through an opportunity just on a wholesaler. So we have to use the opportunities as anything that's going to be money related, right? So where do we put those bags of money that are essentially associated with each one of these projects? We put them in the opportunities. Thank you for asking. Dynamite drop in, back in the back row. But we put them in the opportunities. So we can say, hey, for a scenario that we walked through and it worked very, very nicely, we had a big project in the northeastern market, right? And we had 3 wholesalers that were all vying for that project. We got our products specified on that project and literally went in and were able to negotiate the best opportunity for us with those wholesalers, and 2 of which, right, were of the same group, the same wholesale manufacturing parent company. So it allowed us to see that one branch was negotiating with one person, another branch was negotiating with another person, and then we had a whole other party that was negotiating as well. We now had one central view and the ability to pull that data together and have a meaningful dialogue and say, hey, let's make this a win-win instead of competing against one another, right? All tied to that one project. Now, where does opportunity become more powerful for us than anybody else? And I can tell you, as a sales organization, as a Salesforce team, you guys have your work cut out for you. And it's not just because we're building this growth and this energy and this effort towards the market. It's because we're not selling one product. We don't have one widget that we're all experts on and we walk in and we say, hey, you know what? Here's my widget. Go ahead and buy it. It's the same widget. We made some evaluations of the widget, but it's not going to take me long to be an expert at this widget. We literally have stitched together systems and solutions, right? We've got 83,000 SKUs just at Apollo. That's not including the EPC SKUs, right? It's not including the Triwent SKUs, not including the SureJoint SKUs. So all together, give or take probably 120, 130,000 SKUs that we offer as an organization to the consumer or end user. With all different business verticals, right? We're not just fittings. We're not just groove fittings. We're not just sweat fittings. We're not just valves. We're not just high-performance butterfly valves. We're not just industrial valves. I mean, literally, we've got the biggest and best portfolio of anybody else in the market, and that is awesome. But that is also a challenge, right? So that's why we need to make sure we're tracking these opportunities to be able to leverage that breadth and depth of portfolio in a meaningful way on each one of these projects. I'm greedy. I think everybody else in this room is as well. I want to go in and own 123 West 5th Street. I want the whole dang thing, right? I want every single one of our products sold from the ground floor to the top. And then I want to put a big banner on it that says Apollo Flow Controls is the one that built this building, right? That's just me, but that's what we can do with CRM. So I'll slide through here real quick. Obviously, you guys have seen this before, but opportunities are logged the same exact way. Search is up in the top left. Quick asterisk, right? Quick search tool. Make sure you're not putting duplications in there. And then literally type it in. If you're putting in a new opportunity, great. Otherwise, try to tie it to an existing project that's on record. Does that make sense? No, I've got 9 minutes and 12 seconds. Well, geez, I thought you had a half hour. I see how you are. I'm getting musicked off. This isn't the Golden Globes. How do you create projects? So again, same thing, naming a project. Around naming a project, and I think each one of you in your onboarding has seen this, put the address of the project. It's the one thing that doesn't change, right? People call projects a ton of different things, right? So the Apple project. I mean, how many different Apple projects are there? Oh, it's the Apple project. Well, that's the Apple project in your region. It's the Apple project in what Apple project is it? But if it's 123 or 312 West Elm Street, there's no other project going on at 312 West Elm Street, right? So we can attribute and tie all of our contacts, all of our accounts, all of our opportunities to 312 West Elm Street, and that's why the project object becomes very, very important to us. So we can track everything that's going on at that one land-based geographical location without having the opportunity of a ton of redundancy, right? And ultimately and honestly, that was the stuff that was missing, right? We didn't have a specific structure as to how to track and enter a project, right? We would put different names on it. It'd be the Hayward project or the super big builder project or whatever. The address, physical address of that location starts at the very beginning or inception of that project, goes all the way through the completion of the project. Make sense? Completing the project, obviously putting in the project address, complete the city, state, zip, project type, now that Arthur's rushing me off the stage, attached accounts to the project, so any accounts that are in, right? All of those accounts are people that we do business with, wholesalers, right? Contractors that are there, tie them all together. The project continued mix, right? So the mix and the value, this is extremely important, so I'll touch on it real quick. On the left-hand side, as you go down the project object, it has all of our products by family group, right? An overarching group. So we don't want to go in and say it's going to be a 2-inch 94 VLFA or a 3-inch 77 WLF, and there's going to be 50 of them. We don't want to bog you down with that granularity. We literally want to keep it high level so you guys can simply go in and say valves, right? Commercial valves is going to be $80,000 on this project. It may be a speculation or a guesstimation up front, but as that project moves through its life cycle, it should become more and more refined and detailed. So now our operations division of the organization can say, hey, you know, we've got an $80,000 bump that we're going to see in 77 valves, right, or our commercial valves that we better start accounting for, having some meaningful dialogue around, so we're not chasing our tail or backing into it in the last minute. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes? Good. All right. So activities regarding 312 West Elm Street, same exact thing, right? So we go down into that opportunity, we track and update the files, any Excel, any Word, any specification sheets, any information that we capture and gather along our journey of tracking that project, we load into that project object, right? We literally load in the calls as well. So if I've got, and we've got a new group, right, that I'm extremely excited about, I think everybody else is as well, that we're going to have folks going out and helping augment that on-site training, that on-site relationship, that communication with the installer or the contractor and the folks that literally are putting our products together on site, right? Now we've got a team that's going to go out and do that, and they're going to train and they're going to educate on site so they can literally say, geez, the market manager was here on site and did a training for this product line. I came in because you had an issue with that product and we started to log these calls. And we can see, as we back into the RGA side later today, we can see the issues that pop up and start pinpointing and going, oh, wait a minute, well, we were out there 3 times and trained your group and organization. We talked to your GC. We had our engineers go out and our new on-site people go out. Where are we missing, right? So there's got to be something that adds up to that. But now we've got the data and the documentation, and we can do it quickly and effectively so we can have speed to react, going back to making sure that customer is number one for us instead of it kind of prolonging and delaying and going back through months and months and months of email addresses before we can figure out what it is that we're talking about. So rules, all of the hierarchy is set up within the Salesforce right now. If there's any questions about the hierarchy or access that you guys currently have, certainly send off emails and communications to Holly Hoover. She'll make sure that those things are changed, toot sweet, and if she's not responsive, then certainly raise your hand. Okay, we want to make sure that you guys have access and we want to make sure we're responsive. That's important to making sure this tool works. I don't want you sitting at your computer on a Thursday and going, oh my God, I don't know what to do and I can't get a hold of anybody to tell me how to access this thing. Managers are added to the future, as well as delegation of authority with each one of these different hierarchical structures. So again, it's pretty much set up at this point in time. We've got all the groundwork and foundation built. Now it's about engagement and usage. The leads that I talked about earlier, I'll go into detail with those on Thursday. Again, I think as we have this whole week of information, the consistency that I talked about upon the opening, you're going to see all come together with the marketing and demand generation tactics that we're using in the market now to literally bubble up opportunities as folks are going through their buying journey. And I hope you'll find it extremely informative and go to the market extremely energized in the fact that you're out uncovering stones and getting, as it's been said in the past, your teeth kicked in some cases. But that's all going to start getting cleaner and smoother and more efficient and more effective, and then we're going to drop the Glengarry leads in on you as well. So literally, we'll be closing deals and cashing checks and snapping necks. This Catalina wine mixer is coming, is what I'm saying, right? Right? Yeah? Thank you. Trailhead for Salesforce. Everybody has access to it. You've all got the links. Again, it comes out every single week. So There's no reason to not know where to log in or what to do. All of it should be video walkthrough, but it's easy accessible now. It literally is picture pages. It's as easy and as simplistic as we can possibly make it for engagement. The overall process that we're going about implementing CRM is literally lean, right? So if you move in our process, right, streamlined, repeatable, trainable, if we input 1% improvement on this lean, it literally moves our entire CRM position to a 90% effectiveness. I won't go into it now. We'll talk about it in future state. But that's all we want is just repeat behavior, repeat engagement. Log it in, check it, go back to it, use it, become comfortable with it. And I promise you, as we bring in the customer service group, we bring in operations, we bring in the RGA process and the quality control team, we'll all have one singular view of the customer. It's not going to happen overnight, but it happens with all of your effort and work in this room. So for that, that's really it for me. Dun, 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 dun. I've got 1 minute and 7 seconds. Any questions for me real quick?
Tyson, Outlook integration, is there a better version, a better mousetrap for Outlook integration? I use Salesforce, but I work under my Outlook every day, all day.
Yep.
Without proper integration, this is useless.
Well, I would say it's not useless. You've got two efforts, right? So I think, I don't want to speak out of school, but I will tell you that is addressed. We're not the only organization that uses Outlook, and we're not the only organization that uses Salesforce. So there is an opportunity to engage with Outlook and Salesforce, so they run together and you don't have to send 2 and 3 times. I will say that with our future state, Office 365 may be in our future, which integrates directly with Salesforce ERP, or a Salesforce API. I understand. Yep.
Hey, Tyson, real quick on that. If you've been syncing Outlook and Salesforce, Holly disconnected that sync feature, so we work out the duplication issues that was
right. Yeah. Well, because everybody's Outlook, right, is automatically syncing in contacts, and once we sync those contacts, then you've got more redundancy. And unless we go back, you'll be doing half of your day will be in data hygiene as opposed to data entry. Last question.
I don't know if this is Salesforce. Back you talked about when engineers check Apollo's website, we were able to track that. Who our website. Is that loaded to Salesforce as a lead, or how do we get visibility?
Yep. So I am going to defer that, which is a great question. For those of you that didn't hear it, Todd asked, we're reverse IP tracking hits to our website, right, and traffic through what's called a buyer's journey. We are tracking all that through Apollo Flow Controls, Apollo Valves, and our myriad of other websites that we now have. And we'll talk about that, because ultimately those are the leads that we're putting into Salesforce, and the leads that we're putting into Salesforce are not just qualified, but you also know exactly what they looked at, how long they looked at it, and what their level of interest is, right? So great question, but we'll cover that on Thursday. And with that, that's all my time, and I don't want to eat up any of Arthur or Courtney's time. So thank you all. Obviously, I'll be here all week. At this point in time, we're going to transition to HR. No applause necessary. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.